Join me today as we talk about the movie Twisters. This is the Geek Ball channel. My name is Bobby, and today we're going to be talking about the movie Twisters. I saw the movie a few days ago. Actually, this is the second recording of this video because it picked up some kind of weird clicking noise in it, and hopefully that won't happen again this time. But yeah, so there's not going to be a whole lot of spoilers here. Plus, this isn't really like a spoilery movie. You know, I mean, you can like if you've seen the original Twister, you can probably guess virtually everything that happens in this movie. However, don't let that detract from the movie. If you've seen the original Twister, you'll probably enjoy this one. It is unclear to me, based on the movie itself, if this is meant to be a sequel, a reboot, a remake, what exactly it is. Because there's a handful of like Easter eggs here and there, and there's one really kind of blatant thing that I'll mention towards the end. It is kind of a little spoiler. But there's no actors that crossed over. There's no real reference to the events of the first movie. So it could be what I've seen referred to as an unconnected sequel, whatever the hell that is. But yeah, so it's a similar setup to the first movie. We have various characters who, for various reasons, are trying to chase tornadoes. Now, this is kind of a bit of an inversion of what happened in the first movie, because in the first one, our plucky heroes are the no-budget ragtag group of who the hell knows where all these people came from types. And then we have that's like Bill Paxton, Helen Hunt, Philip Seymour Hoffman, and whoever else was with the group. A bunch of characters that basically get no character development. Their character consists of like a handful of lines that they're given. They all seem to kind of have a job there with the group, maybe. Some of their jobs probably got eliminated whenever Google Maps came around, but that was the 90s, so it wasn't there yet. Then, so you just had this group of people, and then you had Carrie Elway's character, who I believe his name was Jonas, who went and got corporate sponsors, which made him the bad guy. And he got killed. So apparently, it's it's the death sentence in Twister if you're the bad guy. Even though I'm not 100% certain, like, other than him kind of being a dick, like, what exactly he did to deserve that. But anyway, so in this movie, our hero is with the group that has the money, and they are trying to get more data on the Twisters. Now, towards the beginning, they use a method similar to, identical to the method used in the first movie. And then some things happen, and then a couple members of the team kind of get back together because one of them has been in the military and has, seen this more powerful radar system, and they need to get a few of them like around the tornado to get like a three-dimensional image and get a lot more data. And so it's a similar concept, except now our hero is with the people that have the money, and the ragtag team are just tornado chasers who film everything for YouTube and sell like t-shirts and cups and things like that. So, hang on. Sorry, a bit of a technical difficulty. The camera tried to leap out at me. So the two teams, kind of, there's a bit of a rivalry going on there. And like I said, one is all doing it all for YouTube and spectacle and everything, whereas the other is actually trying to do some science. And so the movies, there's interplay between them, interplay in within the moneyed interest groups. That's where the main heroine is. Things happen. Turns out that, certain characters, there's a little bit more to them. Not a lot more, 'cause this is not really what you'd call a character type movie, or a writing or acting type movie. But it's spectacle. It's an action movie. But it is very much like several 90s action movies. It's just a solid action movie. Don't go into it thinking it's going to change your life. They're not going to sit there and give you some dissertation on climate change or anything like that. In fact, the director was on record as saying that, he came here to make an entertaining movie, not preach to people. And at least the box office seems to be reflecting that people like that. Imagine that. Having said that, given the topic of the movie, I don't think it would have been out of place for there to be a comment or two about climate change. I don't think they would have crossed over into preaching, given the topic, So it'd be like a movie about electric cars that didn't talk about it or something. Anyway, overall, the movie's pretty solid. The effects are all pretty good looking. There's a little bit of character development here and there, but it hits the notes you pretty much expect it to. And like from the first meeting of a couple of the characters, you know exactly how things are going to turn out at the end. Definitely a higher body count than the first Twister, and the destruction is considerably more thorough. But it's bigger budget. Effects have come a long way in the 30s, I think almost 30 years since the first one came out. So yeah, but overall, like I said, it's a solid action movie. If you want to go and just be entertained for 2 hours without having to put a whole lot of thought into it, and that's not always a bad thing, by the way, this movie's right up your alley. Now, if you want a little bit of spoiler material, stick around here for a moment and you're going to get it. Alright, so here we are in the spoiler section. This movie, based on some things that happened, could almost be classified as a science fiction movie, because the main character is actually trying to figure out a way to disrupt tornadoes. Now, the first movie, their job was just to find out more about them. It was the kind of goal that isn't too far-fetched, sounds reasonable. A lot of people don't know a lot about tornadoes, so they're probably think, well, maybe we don't know a whole lot about them. I don't know, I'm not a meteorologist. Do we know a lot about them? Beats the shit out of me. But, it seemed like the kind of thing that, okay, this is a reasonable goal. It wasn't like we're going to end tornadoes. That's a different animal altogether. And I think it's hard to not go that way, because the first movie kind of already covered the other ground, and you're basically just like, well, we've got this slightly better way of getting data. So the main woman, several of her friends die in an attempt to test this theory at the very beginning of the movie. So she quits, and it has a 5-year later jump, like an Endgame. Only half the population didn't get snapped. And so then the other friend that survived convinces her to come back. You eventually find out that his moneyed interests are people that go in after the tornado goes through and try to buy up the property. So they're vultures trying to take advantage of people at their most desperate moment. So yeah, she's having none of that. And the main guy does eventually, not the main guy, the guy that brought her into it, does come around. At least in the theater I watched, people literally cheered when that happened, because he does it in a way that tells one of the other guys, screw you. And the movie didn't feel the need to kill him like the first one did Carrie Elway. I think people would have cheered had that happened, though, just to be clear. So you have that, and of course at the end, she tries it like everyone. It's all on the line. The tornado's going to destroy everything. Will it work? Won't it work? And of course it works. It's a movie. And then even at the end after that, when she's going to present her findings, one of the other guys even tells her, look, they're going to gaslight you into saying, oh, it was this, or it was this, or it was this that did it, but no, that was actually your thing. And the problem is, without a bunch of sensor data, maybe it was her thing, maybe it wasn't. Maybe the tornado did just stop, before that it hit a huge oil refinery. Maybe something in there got released into it and screwed with it. That's the problem with the end of the movie, is you don't actually know, because they didn't send up any probes or anything into it to actually monitor it. I mean, obviously from timing, we're pretty sure it was the stuff she used, but she can't really prove that to anyone. Um, so she'll get to do it all over again in a more controlled environment with a raging storm. So yeah. But that aside, she was the actress who played the main character. I don't know her name. I've never seen anything else. She's fairly competent. It wasn't really what I call a demanding role. And then the tornado wrangler, who I don't know his name either, but he was in Top Gun Maverick. I think he's angling to be more of a leading man. This kind of showed that I think his character really does a lot of the carrying. He's the interesting character in the movie, and there's more to him than what you first see. At first you think he's just this jackass going for publicity, but when a town is hit, both the groups go to help out, and she sees them selling merchandise and food, and one of the women comes up and offers her some of the food. She's like, "Oh, I don't have the money." And she's like, "Oh no, we're not selling the food. Like, we're giving the food away. These people need help. Like, we're selling some of the merchandise to anyone that wants any, but we're giving the food and the water and stuff away. Like, these people need help. Like, what the hell are you thinking?" And she realized that she has seriously misjudged them. And you get a few little things like that, but that's about the extent of the character development. And likewise, he's got a crew full of random people that just kind of are there. Now, it should be noted that his crew is actually fairly diverse, and no one in the movie draws attention to this fact. None of the advertising drew attention to this fact. Now, they're not what I would call developed characters. They're just kind of there for the most part. I think I've seen a grand total of one of them in one other thing, and actually two other things. She was in The Mandalorian, and she was in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. But anyway, yeah. So there is diversity, but like I said, they're not what I would call well-developed characters. But none of them are going on about the fact they're a diverse group or anything. So it's the kind of thing that Jim and I have mentioned several times. This seemed to be the better way to approach it. It's the modern world. There's diverse people in it, so of course the group has diverse people in it. Great, let's go with that. So yeah, it works. Yeah. So overall, like I said, fun movie, entertaining. Don't know if there's any reason to go see it a second time. It looked pretty spectacular on the big screen. It probably looked really cool on IMAX, but I didn't go watch it on IMAX. So anyway, I'd recommend seeing it in a theater if you're going to, because similar to the first Twister, it's a spectacle movie. TV's probably not going to do it justice. But then again, some people have giant projection TVs and everything, so maybe. But anyway, I'd say check it out if you like those kind of movies, or if you like the first Twister. If you have seen it or plan on seeing it, let me know down in the description. Let me know down in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. But yeah, other than that, see you folks later.